1 second. I'm just trying to pull something up really quickly. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can get to, nope. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So welcome to Gut Health and Pregnancy tonight. And what we're going to be learning about is how does you and your partner's gut health affect your pregnancy and your baby? Did you know that what you eat, what supplements you take, what you do, it all affects, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. It all affects you, your pregnancy, your partners, and your baby. So my name is Tashri. I'm a certified breastfeeding specialist, and that is my 19-month-old son. With him, I had my own fertility struggles and getting pregnant. It took us 9 months to conceive our first child that we ended up losing during the first trimester. And then after that, it took us another 4 to 4.5 months to conceive my son. And then we had a mostly easy pregnancy. There were a few bumps. And then I had an urgent induction because he was having some breathing issues and things like that. And they wanted to get him out, make sure he was safe. And he's now 19 months old and healthy and just full of life. So I have quite an extensive background personally and professionally with gut health and reproduction. And this is part 2 in our little 3-part mini series that I'm going to be teaching for our Feel Good Thursdays. And so let's get started, and I hope everyone learns a lot tonight. So a healthy gut system is essential for conception and a successful pregnancy. This was a quote that I read in my research. It didn't have an author, so I'm not sure who it was that said it, but I thought it fit perfectly because it is true. A healthy gut is essential for reproduction, conception, a successful pregnancy, a healthy baby, so many things. The father's connection to gut health can influence the future of his offspring. Not a lot of people know that the father's gut health can even impact their partner's health or their future offspring's health and things like that, but it actually can. Most of the gut health connection comes from the mother during pregnancy and after pregnancy, but some of it does come from the father. The bacteria located in the GI tract is inherited from the father to the offspring. We have found through a lot of research. So basically your baby's GI tract health, most of that is coming from the male genes and the male sperm. And this can later determine disease risks such as obesity, diabetes, things like that. So it's important that we have a healthy gut even before we become pregnant. And that bacterial composition that they do find in the male reproductive tract, it contains potentially detrimental bacteria that can be transmitted not just to the baby, but to the male's partner as well. So you thought you only had to worry about contracting STIs. You can also contract things like unhealthy gut microbiomes, and you can pass that on to your offspring as well. And that info that is passed from the fathers to the partners and their offspring is passed through their microbiota. And that male seminal microbiota, it's an important factor in a couple's pregnancy outcomes and their offspring's health. So a lot of people think that, oh, it's only the mother that needs to be healthy and eat healthy and take care of herself and everything during pregnancy and before pregnancy. But it's actually the father as well that needs to make sure he's eating healthy, taking the right supplements, and everything like that, so that he is passing the right microbiota, into his sperm and essentially creating healthy microbiota for his offspring. And then the female connection, or the mother's connection, is more in-depth and extensive, obviously, because the mother houses and grows the child for 9 months and everything. So there's more of a connection there. And a fun fact about the mother's connection: did you know that there is separate microbiomes for the placenta, the amniotic fluid, the vagina, breast milk, your mouth, your gut? Almost every part of your body has its own separate microbiome and microbiota. So it's really important to have those healthy microbiomes and microbiota, because like we said before, that's how it affects everything in your body, because they all have these microbiomes and microbiota that are going to affect everything in your body, including pregnancy and reproduction. So with the women, there's increasing evidence that microbiomes are extremely important for pregnant women and their fetuses. Especially having that proper balance of the good and bad gut bacteria, because everybody thinks that if there's bad bacteria, you just need to wipe it out. But there is some bad bacteria that is needed in your body to keep things balanced. So during pregnancy, your gut microbiome it undergoes many changes, and regulating these microbiomes, it's going to be super beneficial to the health of the mother and the baby, because many pregnancy complications can be linked to the gut microbiome imbalance. And things like gestational diabetes, type 1 diabetes in the baby, excessive weight gain. A lot of people would call it obesity, but we're looking at excessive weight gain during pregnancy. Upwards of like 50, 60, 70 pounds for a singleton pregnancy, and even more for doubles and triples. Preeclampsia, which is very harmful to the mother and the unborn baby. We typically see that later on towards the end of pregnancy, but it's very dangerous because it can cause extremely high blood pressure. It can cause preterm labor, a lot of issues with mother and baby. And then it can also cause autoimmune diseases, which eczema is an autoimmune disease. A lot of people don't know that. So having, as an infant, a lot of infants get eczema. So that can be a result of this unbalanced gut microbiome in the mother, which passes on to the baby. And then more importantly, those microbiomes that are in the mother's milk and vagina, they're closely related to the colonization of the microbiomes in the early life of infants. So they're very similar. All these different microbiomes that mothers have going on in their body are very similar to those of their babies when they're in their first stages of life. And if your gut health is an issue before pregnancy, it is going to change the way your body responds to those pregnancy hormones. And for those of us women watching or here in the Zoom that have had children, you get what that means, because your body does crazy things during pregnancy because of those pregnancy hormones. So if you have an unhealthy gut, it's going to react even worse to those extreme hormone fluctuations that are happening during pregnancy. And one thing that I learned that I did not know at all, that is that the method of child delivery also is going to affect the microbiota of your child. So if you have a vaginal delivery, if you have a natural birth with your child, the baby's microbiota is going to be similar to your vaginal microbiota. And then if you have a C-section, the baby's gut microbiota is going to be similar to the microbiota of your skin instead. So if you have unhealthy gut microbiota, which is then leading to unhealthy vaginal microbiota, and you have a natural childbirth, your baby can then potentially have that unhealthy gut microbiota as well. Or if you have some kind of microbiota or microbiome imbalance going on your skin around your C-section, like incisions, then that's going to transmit to your baby as well. And the difference in this gut microbiota, we've found explains why infants born via C-section have higher rates of dairy allergies. So something with that skin microbiota that these babies are coming in contact with during C-section delivery, is causing that dairy allergy to happen, which we've actually found in recent years as well. Another fun fact is that if you have a dairy intolerance, you actually have the normal genes or the normal gene that can or can't process dairy. But if you can tolerate dairy, you actually have the mutated gene. So being able to consume dairy and not have, side effects like people with lactose intolerance or complete dairy allergy, can't consume it at all. They have the normal gene because our bodies weren't built to be able to process that cow's milk. And we'll touch more on that next week when we talk about gut health and breastfeeding. And then lastly, diet during pregnancy can also affect you and your child's gut health, which we've heard a lot about that. You got to make sure you don't eat this and you don't eat that, and this, that, and the other, because you don't want to get sick from this and pass it to the baby, or you don't want it to cause birth defects or this or that, or preterm labor. There's the more advanced we get, the longer the list goes that they give you when, they say, congratulations, you're pregnant. So that's a pretty known fact, but what we've started to learn actually is that things like a gluten-free maternal diet during pregnancy, it increases the number of the good bacteria that is going to be in your infant's GI tract and their microbiota, which that's actually going to in turn reduce their incidences of contracting things like type 1 diabetes and low-grade inflammation all over their body when they're born and things like that. So it's not just having a good effect for you to have that gluten-free diet while you're pregnant, or to not eat that whole pan of brownies, or that whole apple pie or whatever. It's helping your baby as well, even after your baby is born, because it's going to set their gut health and their immune system up for proper function and healthy function instead of being imbalanced already. Because I'm sure a lot of you have heard so many women talk about their baby is colicky, or their baby spits up all the time, or their baby has acid reflux, or a dairy allergy, or a soy allergy, or all kinds of things. And it always makes me wonder, well, this baby was just born. And a lot, some of those things can be genetically passed, through the parents if they're super dominant or something like that in their genes. But a lot of times it's just like, well, how is this baby who has a brand new like gut system that's never been introduced to anything have all of these issues? And we're starting to learn that it's coming from the gut health of the mother and the father, because they determine the gut health of the baby. So possible complications that are connected to poor gut health during pregnancy. I mentioned a couple of these. Premature birth, gut, vaginal, and oral microbiome health. It's all linked to increased preterm or increased risk of preterm birth. So if those microbiome systems and microbiotas are unhealthy and out of balance, you're at a higher risk of having a preterm birth. And your gut bacteria has been found, like the mother's gut bacteria has been found in the amniotic fluid of infants that were born before 37 weeks, which is typically what we consider a preemie or a premature birth, is anything before 37 weeks. Another issue is preeclampsia, which we had mentioned before, and that's high. It causes high blood pressure. Every now and then it can only be a little bit elevated, especially in the beginning stages of it. But when it's really serious or really late stages of the preeclampsia going into just eclampsia is when it's really elevated blood pressure. And then you start to see things like liver failure in the mother. Preeclampsia can result in low birth weight for the infants. And also, preeclampsia complicates 3 to 5% of pregnancies. And that sounds like a small number, but when you think about how many pregnant women there are every year, that's actually a pretty big number of women. And the microbiome, we have learned, plays a vital role in the blood pressure elevation during pregnancy. So if you have an unhealthy gut microbiome, your blood pressure is going to be more elevated. So that's another super important reason to make sure that your gut microbiome is staying healthy and balanced. And gestational diabetes, right here, this woman in the middle, she's checking her blood sugar levels. They can cause disrupted gut microbiome composition and is similar in profile to non-pregnant women with type 2 diabetes. We've found that in women with gestational diabetes. So that's how, like, a lot of people think that it's really different and things like that, or it's like a different type of diabetes or something, but it's really not. It's basically type 2 diabetes, but you only have it when you're pregnant. And if it's left untreated, it can lead to preeclampsia, which we just talked about. It can lead to an increased risk of having a C-section, which we've learned causes a whole host of other issues with your baby's gut health. It can lead to neonatal low blood sugar, which is something that a lot of preemie babies tend to have issues with, or a lot of women who have had gestational diabetes, their babies have had, if you've ever heard a woman say that her baby had low blood sugars when they were born, she most likely probably had gestational diabetes. And then with preeclampsia, we said it can cause lower birth weight in the infants. Well, with gestational diabetes, it can cause a heavier birth weight in the infants. This is typically the 9, 10, 11-pound babies that you hear about. Some of them are just women with normal, healthy pregnancies. They just have big babies. But a lot of them are coming from women with gestational diabetes, because it does cause the baby to gain more weight in utero, therefore be larger at birth. And then it can cause type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular diseases in the mother as well, like after pregnancy is past. It can cause those later on in her life. So, a lot of people think that once you have the baby, those problems and issues just go away. Well, they don't always for the mother. And then in the baby, there is a whole host of effects that they can have. A lot of preterm infants show a lack of bacterial strains, of any bacterial strains in their gut when they're born. Larger infants have different gut flora than normal weight or lower weight infants. So their gut flora is completely different than the makeup of a baby that was a healthier weight. It can cause allergies, as you see in this baby here with all the red rashness on her face. I'm not sure if that's exactly what's going on that picture, but that is what it looks like with some allergies in newborn infants. It presents with a rash like that on their face or their chest, or maybe their back, things like that. Eczema, which like we said before is an autoimmune disorder. So the like dry patches that you see a lot of babies will get on their chin and under their nose, or they might get it on like their elbows or their like back or knees. I hear all the time, oh, it's just eczema. It's normal. It's fine. Just put some lotion on it or put some Aquaphor on it or, you know, whatever. But again, that goes back to what we were talking about with those babies that are born with gut issues right from the get-go. Like, well, their system's never been introduced to anything. So why do they already have an autoimmune disorder when they're born? Because autoimmune disorders typically aren't genetic. They're from inflammation and things like that, which cause that autoimmune response to happen, which triggers the disorder to then start. It can cause weakened immune function with the infants. So they're already born without an immune system, basically. And then if they have poor gut health on top of that, it's going to make it even worse. So they're going to be slower to develop that strong immune system that's going to help protect them from, you know, colds and flus and RSV and the C word and everything. And lastly, the high inflammation that we just talked about, which again triggers those autoimmune disorders. We hear a lot of people talk about, oh, I have 4, 5, 6 different autoimmune disorders, or, you know, something like that. And I'm on this long list of medication and creams and all kinds of things to help deal with it. But why are we just dealing with the side effects of it instead of the issue that's causing the autoimmune response in the first place? So that leads us to, how do you achieve a healthy gut? How do you get that balanced gut microbiota? Well, with Plexus, first thing we have is the triplex, which is the cleanse and restore system. And this is a 3-step system, which is going to lead, seed, and feed your gut health and balance it out. The first step is the SLIM. It's microbiome activating, and that feeds it. And the benefits from our SLIM is that the pink drink mix, it tastes really good, in my opinion. I like it. It works to stabilize your insulin levels. It feeds your gut beneficial prebiotics, and it also has chromium and green coffee bean extract to support the healthy glucose metabolism within your gut. And then the second step of this triplex is the Plexus Bio cleanse, which is going to weed out your gut. And it helps support your body's natural detoxification process and get your digestion on track by just removing all those harmful microbiomes and substances and toxins that have built up in there. And it promotes regularity. It reduces gas, bloating, discomfort, a lot of things that women who have had children know is a side effect of being pregnant. So that's going to help keep your gut balanced while you're going through those hormone changes, so that you don't have as much gas, bloating, and discomfort, and you don't have those back and forth between constipation and diarrhea that, you know, we know happens when you're pregnant. and everything. And then lastly in this process is, or this system, is the Plexus ProBio 5. And this is going to weed and seed your GI tract. The benefits of this probiotic is that it's a dual action formula, which means that you're going to get the benefits of 2 different products in this one probiotic. So it's full of beneficial enzymes, botanical grapeseed extract, and all that probiotics, sorry, I lost the word, that your gut needs to weed out the unwanted intestinal yeast and things like that. And it's also going to seed your gut with powerful strains of those probiotics to keep it balanced and healthy and to ward off the bad bacteria so that it doesn't build up again. And then the next set, now this is not what Plexus calls it, but this is what I like to call it, the X series. It works as a prenatal system to replace your over-the-counter prenatal vitamins or your prescription ones from your provider. And it's just 2 products that you would take, and it's the Mega X and the X Factor Plus. Both of these combined have all of the same ingredients as any store-bought prenatal, but they're going to be more beneficial because first, they're not full of all the fillers and other things like that that they put in there to fill it out. So first with the Mega X, you're going to get the healthy heart support, the healthy brain, and the vital omega-3s that are super important during pregnancy. And you're going to get from the X Factor Plus a balanced immune function. You're going to get healthy bones for you and your baby. You're going to get healthy muscles for you and your baby. It's going to help balance out your thyroid and your hormones, which is super important when you're pregnant because your hormones are all over the place. And with these 2 combined, it's really important when you're looking at prenatals, you want a prenatal that contains folate instead of folic acid, because folic acid is the synthetic version, or I'm sorry, you want folic acid instead of folate because folate is the synthetic version of folic acid, and your body absorbs the folic acid better than the folate. So it's important that you find one that has folic acid instead. And these 2 contain that important folic acid to help with your baby's brain and body development. And then, of course, Plexus has a variety of other products as well. They have skincare, they have other nutrition products besides just the few that we spoke about. They have other weight management products as well. And then they have kids nutrition, so that after your baby is born and reaches the appropriate age, you can help keep their gut healthy as well. And what makes Plexus different than other supplement companies and direct marketing companies and things like that is that Plexus was created by a group of endocrinologists, and so they've had all of the education and things like that that you would want somebody that's creating these type of supplements to have, and they know how they're going to affect your hormones and your gut health and things like that. And all of Plexus products are manufactured here in the US. That a lot of people are really particular about that, especially these days. So Plexus made sure that all of their products are manufactured here. The probiotics that are in these products are researched and formulated to act on the specific bacteria that are in your gut microbiome and to help balance them out and keep them healthy and regulated. And then the products are created as a system. So you see a lot of like commercials and things like that for, oh, just take this one pill, or just drink this one drink, or, just do this one thing. And it's gonna it's going to take care of everything. It's going to fix it all. It's going to treat your symptoms, blah, blah, blah. But it's only treating the symptoms. It's not fixing the root cause, which is what a lot of things do nowadays. They're just a fast fix Band-Aid. And this is not what Plexus is. It's a system that you have to stick to keep that balanced gut health and to achieve the benefits of having a balanced gut. All of the products are CFU formulated, which means the number of active microorganisms that are found in each serving of the product. And then all of the vitamins are methylated for easier digestion, which of course is going to be important in your gut health as well. You don't want something that's going to take a long time for you to break it down and process it and get into your system and everything. So they are easier and simpler on your digestive system compared to some over-the-counter things that you get that are full of those fillers and things. And the income opportunities that Plexus provides are unmatched compared to a lot of others. Their compensation plan combines great income opportunities to start earning money quickly, as well as long-term residual income. That way you can achieve things over time, like if you want to become a stay-at-home dog mom, or if you want to have a one of those converted little camper vans and tour the world or the country, or whatever. Plexus allows you to do things like that. So are there any questions? Anything anybody found interesting that they would like to know more about?
I really never knew how much the male had to play a part in that. Like, it's amazing at what the, research has really studied and learned. Yeah, I never knew that before. And I have a client who her daughter was on acidophilus as soon as she was born because the mom had been taking so many antibiotics that the gut was so messed up.
Yeah, antibiotics destroy your gut health. I mean, you do need them, when the time calls for them, but they're just horrible on your gut. So it's essential to make sure you're taking something like these Plexus products when you are on antibiotics to help combat that effect that they have.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, I can share a little testimonial just with my experience from having a few kids myself. I just think that before I got into gut health, I had my second son, and that's when my body was like at its just mentally and physically just not feeling myself. And then he actually was born with, didn't have eczema when he was born, but developed it shortly after. Just like a lot of different food allergies, and you could see it come through in his skin. And probably my unhealthiest baby in terms of just was getting sick really often, like would just catch more than my other kiddos did. And then I felt awful after having him. I just didn't realize beforehand what I had needed. And then so I got on a regimen, and which was the triplex and vital biome. But then after having my daughter, she honestly, I think she was sick maybe one time I think it was because she drank too much seawater. But I mean, she didn't have the same, even picky eating. I don't know if that's something that he just really craves a lot of like unhealthy foods, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that's connected. But one other thing that you said so interesting that now I can't think of it, but I was like, wow, I had no idea that was the case. It was in the beginning of your presentation. It'll come to me afterwards, but I thought that was really amazing information that, you just don't know what you don't know until you know it. So it's just so cool that you shared that with us tonight, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I can share my own testimonial. I shared a little bit in the beginning about me and my son, but after he was born, he's breastfed. He's been breastfed the whole time. He had some issues and with like spitting up every now and then and stuff. And when I sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm trying to like recall things as I'm talking. When he was like spitting up a lot and stuff, they thought it was my breast milk and they wanted me to switch to formula. And I was like, well, no, I don't think that's the case. And I think formula is going to make it worse because formula doesn't have all the extra probiotics and prebiotics and things that breast milk has in it. And I'll talk more about that specifically next week because that also affects gut health as well. Formula feeding, solid foods, breastfeeding, all of it. Everything affects your gut health, and your gut health affects everything in your body. So it's super important to stay balanced. But we got COVID, I think it was the beginning of this year. Like me, my mom, my dad, my brother, like everybody in our house, pretty much. There was like 9 of us because we all got it from Christmas. And before then, he had never been sick. He had one ear infection. And then he was like healthy for the most part. And then after COVID, we were like getting sick constantly. My boyfriend's been sick like 5 times. My son, before I started the Plexus products, him and I were sick like 3 times after COVID. But then I started Plexus and we haven't been sick at all. My boyfriend's been sick a few more times, but he doesn't take Plexus products. So he probably has that imbalanced gut health, which is affecting his immune function and allowing him to get sick more often. Whereas my son and I have the Plexus products keeping our gut health in check so that it can help fight off those things.
That's amazing. I know, I'm not, pregnant or anything, but I know how much the Plexus products have helped me just feel so much better. And I don't get sick. I have so much more energy, and it just has taken away all of my sugar cravings, How bad is sugar for you, right?
Right. And imagine if you were pregnant and taking Plexus, how much better it would make you feel. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I was pregnant, I heard women all the time, oh yeah, when you're pregnant, you feel like crap, you're tired, you're this, you're that, you have heartburn, you have this, you have that. And I mean, it's understandable. Your body is going through immense changes and fluctuations and things like that because it's creating a human being. But like, it makes you think like, well, what about all these people that said it's supposed to be beautiful and glorious and you're supposed to feel great and blah, blah, blah. Well, having a healthy gut will help you achieve that. I mean, you're probably still going to have your days where you feel like crap. Let's be honest, you're growing a human being, but having a healthy gut is going to make it less of those bad days and more of the good days, which is what you want when you're pregnant. You want to enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there any other questions? Is there anybody in the live with questions?
No. People are watching. No comments very much. So
Okay. Well, if there's no questions, then I think we'll call it a night.
Very, very good. Thank you so much. That was really interesting.
Oh, you're welcome.
Lots of great information.
Yes, and everybody watching, make sure you tune in next week for the last part of the mini series, where we talk about gut health and infant feeding and how it impacts breastfeeding and formula feeding and all of that after birth.
Wow. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yes.